Hello everyone, and today we're going to continue our look at rare slash free radical design shooters. Today we're taking a look at the follow-up to Timesplitters, which is strangely enough entitled Timesplitters 2. So Timesplitters 2 launched in 2002 for the PlayStation 2, original Xbox, and GameCube. It was of course developed by Free Radical Design and published by Eidos Interactive, which of course became Square Enix. Okay, unlike its predecessor, Timesplitters 2 opted to go multi-platform. Okay, the first one was PlayStation 2 exclusive, and this one had released on all three platforms that were available at the time. No PC version though. I would have loved to have seen a PC version of Timesplitters 2. So Timesplitters 2 featured a much expanded single player story mode, okay, over the original. Each mission featured a cutscene intros. Each mission had more complex objectives as well. If you remember Timesplitters 1, you just had to pick up the object and leave. Each mission also had a unique set of objectives, which was interesting as well. The arcade and challenge mode were also expanded, so they added much more content and much more depth to the game.
Oh, top left. I was going to say, reload? I'm on it.
Timesplitters 2 is available on PlayStation 2, original Xbox, and GameCube. So if you own any of those consoles, then you just put the disc in the machine and play it. The GameCube version is also playable on the Wii. So if you have a GameCube controller for your Nintendo Wii, then you just put that in and play that. The PlayStation 2 version can be played on the fat launch model PlayStation 3s. So if you have one of them, you can put it in there. However, the Xbox version is not playable on an Xbox 360, sadly. So you're going to need an original Xbox to play that version. Okay, I wish Microsoft would make original Xbox games, bring them to backwards compatibility for Xbox One. There's so many original Xbox games that I'd love to play, and Timesplitters 2 definitely is one of them. I'd love to play this digitally, okay? It's not available digitally anywhere, never been re-released, never had an HD remake. However, in 2008, there was an HD version in the works, okay? It was never released. The developers had hoped to use it in order to get Timesplitters 4 funded, but they could not get a publisher for it because publishers are fucking idiots, basically. Imagine Timesplitters 2 HD online multiplayer. Why would you say no? It just prints money. You saying no to money? Stupid publishers. Right, if you want to play it on PC then, you're going to have to use an emulator. Okay, luckily we got a choice because PS2 or GameCube, there's no real original Xbox emulator that really... There are a few out there, but getting to play games is kind of difficult. So your best bet is PCSX2 or Dolphin. Okay, both of them run the game pretty fine. I was able to get them running with no real issues with the texture scaling up to 4K. Again, that's what most of the footage that you're looking at is. It's mostly Dolphin. The only real difference between PCSX2 and Dolphin is that Dolphin played in a 4:3 aspect ratio. PCSX2 played in a 4:3 aspect ratio, and Dolphin would play with a widescreen hack. So I just wanted to play it with widescreen, so it takes up the whole screen, and rather than have two black bars down the side. But that's the only real difference. There's not a huge difference. Getting it to run on PCSX2 is fairly easy, as it's a fairly light game to get running. It's not a graphical powerhouse or anything like that, so should be fairly easy to get running on an emulator if you have even a modest system. Bear in mind you can turn the texture scaling to whatever you want. I run it up to 4K because it runs fine. You know, both versions ran without any issues. So which version should you get for your collection then if you're going to collect it? There's very little difference between any of the versions. So whatever console you have from that generation, just pick up the version for that console. There's not a huge difference. Again, they didn't feature things like online multiplayer as it came out just as Xbox Live was launching, so it didn't have Xbox Live support. The PlayStation 2 didn't really have any online, didn't have much online support, near the GameCube, so there was no online support for either version. Anyway, I doubt that the online services for those consoles would be long gone. Xbox Live on original Xbox has long been discontinued. So, should you add this game to your collection? I would say yes. If you're collecting 6th generation games, and you're collecting PS2, GameCube, or Xbox games, then Timesplitters 2 is, I would say, a must buy. I'd say it was one of the best shooters of that generation. It was certainly one of my favorite multiplayer shooters of all time, really. Used to play it a lot with friends. Again, we played GoldenEye, we played Perfect Dark, and there's a natural progression to Timesplitters 2 because it is very similar. So I'd say of that generation, it was one of the must-own games.
All top left. Uh-huh. I was going to say, reload. I'm on it.
So you're gonna want to buy it, stranger, aren't you? Really? It is a fairly easy to find game. Again, I had no real issues finding copies of it anywhere. The PlayStation 2 version will set you back in the UK around £5 to £10, roughly is what you'd pay for it. In the US, it is 10 to 15 Trump dollars. The GameCube is slightly more expensive. You're looking at £10 to £15 in the UK, and in Trumpland, it's going to cost you 20 to 25 US Trump dollars. For the Xbox version, is the cheapest version, surprisingly. It is £2 to £5, or unsurprisingly, since it can't be played on an emulator or an Xbox 360. But £2 to £5, I would say. The average price was around sort of $2.99. What I said, £3, £4, £2 to £5 on original Xbox. And in the US, it was around 6 to 12 Trump dollars. So why is there such a price difference for the same game? Again, it just comes down to rarity, I think. The GameCube version was the lowest selling version, which is why it's the rarest. And, you know, not a lot of people own the GameCube, but quite a lot of people own a Wii, so it can be played on a Nintendo Wii as well. So you could pick it up for that as well. The PlayStation 2 version was the best selling version of the game. So it has the most availability. It can be played on some older model PlayStation 3s. The Xbox version is probably arguably the best version of the current release of the well, at that time 6th gen console releases. Although it can only be played on one console, so you have to own an original Xbox. So which version should you go for then? Well, the PS2 version is the easiest one to find, so it is a reasonable price. So I would go with that one if you're going for it there. If you got an original Xbox, then yeah, you can get the Xbox version. It's it is the cheapest. The GameCube version is quite pricey, so I would only go for that depending on if you can get it cheap enough. I would go for the GameCube one, but it really doesn't really matter. Whatever you can find for the cheapest, obviously whatever console you own. If you own a launch model PS3, again, you can play it. If you own a Wii, you can play it on the GameCube, but the Xbox, you're kind of stuck with the original Xbox. Come on, Microsoft. Original Xbox games, the backwards compatibility. I mean, if the Xbox One can emulate Xbox 360 games, surely it can emulate an original Xbox. That's my reasoning behind it. But yeah, it's fairly cheap, and it's fairly easy to find as well. So I would pick it up, definitely add it to your collection.
All top left. Uh-huh. I was going to say, reload. I'm on it.
Right, so Timesplitters 2 is a game so brimming with content that it would embarrass most modern games, okay? The story campaign has certainly been improved upon from the first game. There's been cutscenes added to each mission, and there's now a varying set of objectives for each level. Each level has its own unique objectives, and as with GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, increasing the difficulty adds to those objectives. So it makes for a very different game if you play through it on a higher difficulty, and of course adds to the replayability of the story mode. Each level is set in a different time period. It does feature different weapon types and different enemy types as well. For example, in 1930s Chicago, you'll be using Tommy guns, and you'll be fighting gangsters as a detective. It has a sort of film noir theme to it, and every level as well has a theme. The first level is the best level in the game. It is a tribute to GoldenEye. I mean, it clearly is. It's set in Siberia, same country as GoldenEye started, same location at a dam. The time period is also the 1990s, which again, GoldenEye was set during the 1990s. And even the weapon set is the same, as you get a silenced pistol, a sniper rifle, and an AK-47, which is the same as GoldenEye. Although you don't get to jump off the dam at the end, that's the only real thing. So the first level is the best in the game, but the only criticism I'd have of the campaign is that some of the levels are just annoying to play through. And the quality of each level is fairly inconsistent. There is a level in Paris where you're in Notre Dame and you are trying to rescue maidens from zombies. Maidens is what the game calls them, which seems simple enough, but the zombies just hone in on those maidens, and if they get too close to the maidens, they kill the maidens with like 2 or 3 hits. But if they're too close to the maidens, it's really difficult to shoot them, as your weapon is a double-barreled shotgun. So, and yes, you can kill the maidens. Okay, so you could easily kill the maidens, and that's mission failure and results in a restart. There's also the checkpoint system, which is kind of inconsistent. Again, in that same level, you fight a giant boss, you fight a giant golem type thing. I'm calling it a golem type thing. I don't know what it's called. But you fight a giant boss, and you would think you get a checkpoint right before that, but no, the checkpoint is like 10 minutes before you fight that boss. So a bit of a weird pacing issue. Then there's the Neo Tokyo mission, which is feels out of place. It's a purely stealth mission, and it just feels a little bit out of place because the rest of the game is kind of an arcade style shooter game, and this is stealth mission. Seems to come out of nowhere, really, and it's in the middle of the game as well. It was quite annoying. It was also an annoying level to beat, I always found. But anyway, the single player was good. The multiplayer is what you stay for. Timesplitters 2 does not disappoint. Okay, there's the arcade league mode, which lets you try out the multiplayer mode against the bots. A lot of the multiplayer modes are locked, and you're gonna have to play the arcade league mode to unlock the additional modes and additional characters. And then there's arcade custom, which is where I spent most of my time playing with friends back in the day. Think of arcade custom as the multiplayer mode. Okay, you can a lot like its predecessor, Timesplitters 2 excels when it comes to multiplayer modes, and almost everything can be customized. Things like the bot difficulty, the bots that you face, the score modifiers, the score limiters, the weapon loadouts. You can have loadouts from specific time periods. You can make up your own loadouts. You can have just machine guns. You can have bricks. You can just have bricks as the only weapon. Just throw bricks at each other. Throw bananas, I think, as well at each other as well. You can, set your own custom weapons. Pick your own from all of the weapons in the game, which is pretty nice as well. I think you can set handicap modifiers as well in Timesplitters 2. Also, the cast of characters is one of the most diverse I've ever seen in a game. I mean, we used to play it. We used to set up games of monkeys versus gingerbread men. Oh yeah, and don't forget the greatest character of all, and that was Robofish. Okay, Robofish. Don't mess with Robofish. All right. You can set up things like monkeys versus gingerbread men versus the undead as well. There was things like that. You could go around you murdered a lot of gingerbread men. I was a gingerbread man murderer. Didn't eat them though. Didn't eat them. I ain't a savage. No. Stop eating gingerbread men. Monkeys as well. You killed a lot of monkeys. A lot of monkeys were harmed in the making of Timesplitters. I mean, monkeys, they used to throw melon grenades at you. Yeah, they were watermelon grenades. They literally threw watermelons and they exploded. I mean, who the hell laces watermelons with explosives? Sick monkeys that they are. There was also the challenge mode, which featured score-based challenges. You had things like behead the undead, which is pretty self-explanatory. You shoot the heads off of zombies, and you get a time limit, and you get like a score modifier, etc. You also had things like window pane, where you had to smash all of the windows in a given level. Again, you could playing them with friends was good. You used to pass the controller around, and you could see you could get the best score. I mean, you start off with window pane. You start off with a brick, throwing it through windows, and then you get things like a grenade launcher, and then you got to bounce grenades in to places to get the windows to smash throughout the levels. It was kind of cool. It was kind of fun, but there was a lot of different challenges as well. You had like the infection mode, where you had to be the last person to get infected, which was an interesting little multiplayer mode. But yeah, it had plenty of content to keep you busy. Like we said earlier, it would embarrass most modern games. I think of games like Overwatch and things like that and think how little content they have. And then I look at Timesplitters 2 and think, used to be so much better. And again, none of this was locked behind a season pass or an online pass or DLC. There was none of that bullshit back in the day. It was just play the game to unlock stuff. And it was fun. It was fun to play the game to unlock stuff. It was worth playing through to unlock it. The Arcade League was huge. It had 3 different levels of Arcade League. There was I think it was something Elite and Ultimate, and there was like the beginner level one. If you wanted to unlock all the modes and all the characters, you had to play through it. And of course, you'd get a medal at the end. It was gold, silver, bronze. You had to get a bronze minimum to unlock the mode. Getting silver, gold unlocked additional things, which was again gave you a good reason to go back and play it. It was a good incentive at least to go through it. But anyway, we'll move on now to our conclusion.
Oh, top left. Uh-huh. I was gonna say, reload? I'm on it.
Timesplitters 2 was one of the best shooters of its era, but it's often forgotten when it comes to a discussion about the greatest shooters ever made. Okay, I think if the developers had managed to get the HD remake out with online multiplayer, that was going to be one of the features of it. Then I wonder where the series could have gone today. I mean, I look at games like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch, and I can't help but think of the potential of the Timesplitters series. There is an interview, I'll put a link to it in the description, with one of the developers where they talk about trying to get Timesplitters 4 made, and they talk about how to get, or they were trying to get Timesplitters 2 HD remake and Timesplitters 4 made, and they pitched it to one of the publishers, and I shit you not, this is what one of the marketing people said. Okay, they said that a series full of colorful characters, different colorful characters, and using different settings would never sell, according to that publisher that they pitched Timesplitters 4 to. I mean, seriously? Good job that guy wasn't there, or that person wasn't there when Overwatch got pitched, because that's basically Overwatch. That is a good description of Overwatch. It has a series of colorful characters and different settings, doesn't it? You know, each map is different in Overwatch, has a very different theme. Each character is so different. They said you have to have a similar, consistent theme throughout the game. And Overwatch doesn't have that. Overwatch you could describe as that. And Overwatch didn't do well, did it? It just won a Game of the Year award there. But yeah, Timesplitters, it had a huge potential, really. I would have loved to have seen them do more. Sadly, it ended with the 6th generation. We will, in the next video, cover the final Timesplitters game, which is Timesplitters Future Perfect, which was published by EA this time. See what EA make of it. Timesplitters. But yeah, it's sad to see the Free Radical couldn't get Timesplitters 4 made. They had a playable demo of it as well. Could have been awesome. And we'll get to the reasons why it never got made. Again, after Timesplitters Future Perfect, we will get to Haze. My God, we will get to Haze at some point. After we do Future Perfect. But first, we're going to live in a happy place. We're going to go to our happy place, and we're going to play some Timesplitters Future Perfect next time around. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.